Okay, so hi everybody. This is Neha here, and for those who don't know me, I am the founder of Indian Women's Circle Group and our website. And today's event is something that I have introduced in this year, which is called IWC Huddle. The concept is that we get together and have discussion on a particular topic of interest, be it parenting, be it health, be it career, be it as simple as cooking or some recipe, and other stress, how to manage stress, how to be more productive, personal growth, anything. But basically, get together and, if we can learn something from each other, then I think that would be a wonderful opportunity for all of us, right? So that's the concept behind it, and really excited for our first huddle today for the year 2021, healthy eating one-on-one. And I think this is one of the topic that is on everybody's mind, and especially when the new year starts, we feel that we need to take charge of our health. And also the last year has been really different for all of us in many many ways, being women, being moms, working from home, taking care of kids, family, home, everything has come together. The lines have really blurred, and I'm sure it has impacted our health in some way or the other. So, this topic was the perfect topic to start our huddle with. And to discuss on this topic, I have today with me Dr. Manjiri Nandkarni, who is also the member of our group, but she is actually a doctor, an Ayurvedic doctor. She is a registered holistic nutritionist and also certified based allergy consultant. She's also an international speaker and an educator. So welcome, Manjari, and thank you for joining us today and sharing some of the key things that we all kind of think about, and some of the topics that we wanted to touch base in our session today is like, what is healthy diet, what are healthy habits. We have all heard about certain things like vegan diet and detoxing and weight loss and health coaches and routines and whatnot. So I'm sure if you will be able to touch base on these topics, it will help a lot of us. So over to you. And just want to mention one thing that we will first have this conversation with Dr. Manjari, and then we'll open the session for Q&A. So if you have any particular questions, you'll be able to ask her as well. So over to you.
Thank you so much. This is one of my favorite topics, and I'm an Ayurvedic MD. I'm also a holistic nutritionist, and I'm somebody who works with minimal herbs, minimal supplements. So I use the food, like the medicine of food or the power of food, a lot in my practice, and that's why I'm so passionate about it. Now, one thing that everybody needs to understand is, food is a double-edged sword, right? So it's like a sword which is sharp on both sides. If you use it as a medicine, if you use it in a way that it's aligned with you, it's going to cut through any diseases in your body. It's going to prevent any diseases. It's going to cut through any imbalances. But on the other hand, if you're using this food in a not so great way, if you're addicted to foods or sugars, or if you're having food which is not compatible to your body, which is something nobody talks about, like if you have food sensitivities, or if that food just doesn't suit you, your body type, it is going to create diseases, right? So the same food can be really beneficial. At the same time, the same food can be harmful as well. And the other concept to understand is that food is a highly personalized concept. We don't talk about it. I've seen a lot of health coaches. I've seen lots of even nutritionists, as I was going through nutrition school, and they would recommend everybody to be vegan, or they would recommend everybody to be, paleo, depending on what their diet was, right? But this is not right, because we are all unique beings. We are all very individual. So in Ayurveda, we look at the person, we look at their lifestyle, we look at their requirements. If you're using a lot of your brain power and you're sitting on your desk sedentary, but you use a lot of your brain power, your diet is going to be very different than somebody who's doing a lot of physical work. If you are an athlete who's training, it's going to be very different. And even amongst athletes, for body weight trainers or bodybuilders versus endurance trainers like runners, it's going to be very different. So food is completely an individualized concept. So trying to eat exactly the way somebody else is eating, or trying to do something by somebody's advice who has no idea about your body, can actually create a lot of harm, right? So one of the things, like, what should you be paying attention to? The first thing is you have to pay attention to your own self, right? Every time you eat, you have to understand that, okay, is this food, how does it make me feel? Is it making me feel nourished? Is it making me feel really dry? Or if I eat, sometimes people eat red meat and they're constipated the next morning. So is it causing constipation? Is it causing bloating, right? And that is one part of it. So you always have to see if the food is, how does it make you feel, and what are you using it as, right? So are you using it to nourish your body, or are you using it to calm your anxiety, which is what a lot of women do? When we get anxious, when we get really stressed, we reach for the chocolate or some laddus or something sweet, because that's like instant happiness. You calm down. The sugar is instantly going to, change your mood for the time being, but then it's going to lead to crashes, right? So first thing is, how are you feeling when you eat the food, and what are you using it as, right? And the concept of healthy food is very different in Ayurveda. So we talk about body types or dosha types, we talk about personality types. So I'll just give you brief examples. So in have you heard the terms vata, pitta, kapha? Vata dosha, pitta dosha, kapha dosha. So basically, these are three bioenergies present in your body. For somebody who's always on the go, who's constantly doing one thing or the other, who cannot stop, they have the nature of the wind. And these are women who do not put on any weight, right? They always struggle to gain weight. They can't gain any, right? And they're always cold and dry, and they are dominant in what we call vata dosh. Then we have women who are very like fiery, they like controlling everything, and they're leaders, and they're always out there doing a million things at a time. So those are very fiery people. We call them pitta dominant people. And then the third ones are, the nurturing kinds, who are going to take a step back for their health, and they are going to always care for the others. They're not very active. They like sitting and knitting or painting or watching TV. They don't like a lot of activity. So this is the kapha kind of, body type. And according to different body types, your diet should be different, but also according to any imbalances. So these are the normal doshas. So a vata person is going to have a lot more wind energy. A pitta person is going to have a lot more fiery energy. A kapha person is going to have a lot more, what we call inertia, or um, what's the name, not kinetic energy, the stored energy, right? So for these three, the diet is going to be very different. And if you are someone, even with one of these body type, and if you're suffering from hormonal imbalance or digestive disorders, then your diet is going to be even more slightly different, right? So that's what we'll talk about a little bit. Now I'm going to talk about the general diet, because it's a huge topic and I can talk for hours and hours on this one. But I'm just going to talk about a few concepts. I'm going to talk about a little bit about immunity as well, because we are all in the midst of a pandemic. And with the pandemic, it's extremely important to keep ourselves healthy, keep our immune self healthy, and we can do it with food, right? So I'm going to talk about a few things. I'll take all the questions later on. I cannot address any one-on-one questions. You are more than welcome to book a 15-minute free consult with me after the session. But I can't take, because of the legal reasons, and I don't want to, create trouble for you or be in trouble because of my liabilities. I can't answer like specific health questions, but generally I can talk about anything if you have questions, right? So when we talk about healthy eating, we talked about, okay, this food can be a double-edged sword, right? So you want to use it as a medicine and not as a poison. So what do we really look for? So when I talked about this body type, the one thing is, people who are always on the go are going to have more calorie wise nutrition requirements and nutrient density wise as well than somebody who's sedentary, right? And this is a very general way of saying it. So people who have vata tendencies are going to need a little bit more rich foods, like more ghee in their diet on a regular basis, more root vegetables, more carrots and pumpkins and squashes. Anything that's grounding is something they're going to need. Someone who's a fiery type, they're hot headed, they're going to need more cooling foods to cool down, right? And these are people who can have acid reflux or high blood pressure or any ulcers or acidity in the system. The first type we mentioned, vata kinds, they have more anxiety, they have more digestive issues like bloating, gasiness, or constipation. The second people have a lot more fire energy, so you want to calm them, you want to calm and soothe the fire, right? So you don't want to use a lot of spices like cloves and cinnamon, you want to use something soothing like coriander, fennel, that's really going to balance your body. And even milk, if it's organic, can really help with the acidity. If it's not working for you, it might not. So we have to test for each person differently, right? Now comes to the third body type, that somebody who's sedentary is not going to require a lot of rich foods or rich calories, because they're sitting, they're going to store everything, right? And these are women who constantly struggle with weight. These are women who have lots of energy, like if they start a running competition, they're going to win, right? But they are storing the energy, they don't like being active. So having heavier foods, heavier meats are not going to work well for these type of people, right? Now the second concept that we have to understand is seasons, right? Seasons is something that we have to cater our diet towards. And let me take a step back and explain another concept, that okay, we talked about calories, but we also talk about nutrient density. And I'll give you a simple example, that if you have a vegetable juice, right, it's going to be low in calories, but it's going to have lots of nutrients in it. If you have a burger, it has a lot of calories in it, but it doesn't have a lot of nutrients. So fruits, vegetables, are going to be really good in nutrients. They're going to be dense in nutrients. They're not going to be dense in calories, especially leafy greens. But something like burgers, pizzas, pastas are going to be really rich in calories. But if you're not using the calories, they're just going to get stored. So that's one concept as well. Now coming to seasons, seasonal foods are extremely important. And when we talk about our Indian culture, a lot of Ayurveda is already embedded in the culture itself. Like for everybody that celebrated Makar Sankrant, in Maharashtra we have this tilgul, we have laddus made up of til and jaggery. And that is because you're in the cold winter time. Til is one of the most nourishing, calming to vata. And also sesame is warming as well. So when we have a lot of cold in the season, that's when you're using warmer foods to balance your body, right? So having warming foods, spices right now is a good option. But as we go into summer, you're going to have more fruits, more berries, right? So the rule is eat whatever grows in the season, right? And one big myth or one big problem that I see with a lot of people is right now, because for immune health in Canada, everybody goes for California oranges in the winter time, right? They're like, oh, I need my vitamin C, I'm going to go buy oranges. But oranges can be cooling to the body. So it's already going to create a lot of dampness, a lot of coldness, and you might be prone to more sneezing or congestion, right? So that's not the best thing. So eat what you can find in the local markets, eat what's in the season, and that is one of the best ways to stay healthy. Now, let's talk about the quality of ingredients. The best is going to be always organic. If you grow your own food, it's not too difficult. I grow a lot of my own food in the summer months. I also have some herbs starting right now. So holy basil, Thai basil, everything's been starting right now. But I grow my own tomatoes, vegetables, and all. If you can't buy it locally from a farmer's market, because the fresher it is, the more nutrient packed it's going to be. And when we talk about quantities, we talked about the quality. When we talk about the quantity, it's going to be according to every individual diet, right? Now, like every individual's need. So if you're active, if you're not active, if you're pregnant, or if you are menopausal, so the diet, the requirements are going to be completely different. Now I'm going to bust a few myths and get into very specifics. If I'm going too fast, just let me know, um, because I need to cover up. Yeah.
Yeah, I think one question, because you already touched base, is about the immunity, right? So one of the question we have is that what would you recommend as a morning ritual to boost good health and immunity? So
Okay.
if there's anything specific, that we can look at?
Yeah. See, the one thing that, in Ayurveda, we have a complete daily routine. We have a simple routine. Like one thing you can do is when you wake up, the first thing you can do is just calm down because we get into this fight and flight mode. And besides the food part, also the stress, if you wake up, look at your to do list, or you have to do this, you have to do that, it's going to put your body into the stress mode as soon as you wake up. But even something as alternate nostril breathing or a short meditation is going to really calm you down. And don't eat anything heavy, right? Don't eat something that's too heavy first thing in the morning. Drink some warm water. So in Ayurveda, we talk about Ushnapan or Ushna Ambupan, which is like warm water. And that's really going to stimulate your digestive fire. And if you have any constipation, it relieves that as well. But some people have a habit of having lots of protein or heavy breakfast, you know and that's one myth that, in the morning, don't make it a part of your routine that you're having something very heavy. You could actually end up feeling a lot more sluggish. So the one biggest ritual is calming yourself down. Always focusing, grounding is what I would recommend, and hot water, right? These are the two things you always have to do. And exercise, if you add that to your daily routine, right? Or movement, it doesn't have to be exercise like heavy workouts, but some movement in the morning is extremely essential for your body because you need your circulation of the entire body as well. So three simple things you can go for it.
I think it's so important because these days, I think you hit the nail on the head. Like even for me, when I wake up, I'm like, oh my god, it's gonna be work. We have to get the breakfast ready. The kids have to start the school. The little one has to be fed, and it's we get into the flight mode. I think I really love your suggestion for calming yourself down. I think we don't even think in that direction. We sleep with the thought that in the morning you're going to do this
Yeah.
versus thinking that I'm going to get up and just take 5 minutes to myself.
Yeah.
So
And just, if you have struggle, focusing, one thing is there are lots of apps, there are also free apps which are meditation apps. So this is one thing I do, that when I wake up and I listen to like a meditation that's going on, and that helps me center, always like the meditation has a good message to it. So I use the Calm app. CALM is the name. I'm just going to type it in the chat. So there's insight timer, there is headspace, there are different applications you can use. And this can be like a 5 or 10 minute meditation. If nothing, just sit still, create, get into the habit of cultivating stillness throughout the day. Like take 5-10 minutes for yourself every few hours. You'll start noticing a huge shift. And also important that when you're eating, you have to calm yourself down and really kind of focus on the food and eat, and not eat on the go. So this is the other thing that women do, right? We're always like eating in a rush. We're sitting in the car and eating, or we're making sure the kids are fed and eating. So whatever you're doing, just give yourself those 10 minutes to sit down and eat, and even your digestion is going to be so much better, right?
yeah.
So any other questions on that one?
I think there's one question about is there any specific food chart for hormonal imbalances? I think you touched base a little bit upon it, but
See, I work one on one with clients, and there is no one hormonal imbalance. And it's very simple. I'll tell you, there are main hormones. We talk about estrogen and progesterone in women, right? So if your estrogen is really high and progesterone is normal, that's also an imbalance. If your progesterone is low, estrogen is high, that's also an imbalance. And if both are out of both are not normal, that's also out of balance. So the one thing that I really recommend for women is, there's no one specific food chart, but if you have hormonal issues, please work with somebody who's trained. Don't look at diets online and just hope that it's going to help you, because you have to figure out what's out of balance to bring that in balance. You can't guess when it comes to your health. Stop guessing and rather get tested. I also offer some salivary hormonal testing, so feel free to get in touch with me, but get tested, or know what's out of balance before you try some diets or something. The one thing, again, when it comes to hormones, is it's connected to your digestive system in Ayurveda. We always talk about correcting your digestion because sometimes, you are not detoxifying the excess hormones. Like every time our body is making hormones, but it's also breaking it down. So for that, we have to assess the liver function. So if your liver is not functioning well, you're not going to clear those hormones from the system, and that is also an imbalance, right? So there are different kinds of imbalances, and depending on what's going on, your diet is going to be different. There is no one simple diet for everything.
So,
I'm going to take those questions as well. I can see a few questions here. Ayurvedic treatment for acid reflux, 100%. So when we change the diet, you will notice a lot of relief. But again, it has to be customized. There is not one diet everybody has to follow for acid reflux. Acid reflux is very common in people who have this pitta or fire nature, right? Or if you've eaten a lot of things that are spicy, sometimes alcohol does that, sometimes a lot of sharp spices do that, sometimes stress does that. There can be bacteria like H. pylori as well. So depending on the cause, like even the symptom, there can be causes, and you always treat the root cause in Ayurveda. You don't just take look at the symptoms, you always treat the root cause. The second question I'm going to quickly take is vitamin D, right? So food and vitamin D, food is going to help you store the vitamin D, right? Because vitamins A, D, E, and K are fat soluble, but you make vitamin D only when you're exposed to the outside sunlight, right? You can't eat something like eggs, maybe, animal foods might have a little bit vitamin D, but our exposure to the sun, right? And that to your hands and feet have to be uncovered. If we're all wrapped up, right now in cold and going out, it's not going to help. So supplementing with vitamin D for each and every person is extremely important in Canada at this time of the year. The same for your kids, if you want stronger bones, if you want emotional balance. When I first came to the country, I didn't know what was going on, but I got the winter blues. You feel so depressed and you're new and you have no idea what's happening. You don't see the sun. And India, like no part where you go, we have plenty of sun, right? So taking vitamin D drops, usually 1,000 international units, one pill is the dosage for one pill. You can go up to 4 or 5 easily if needed, right? But work with someone, but at least start taking 1 to 2 drops, and that will really, really help you.
Manjiri, I have a question just on that. Can you suggest like what are some of the symptoms that we can look for even for vitamin deficiency or even for hormonal imbalance? Something
Yeah.
that will strike you. Okay, something is not right.
Yeah. So vitamin D deficiency is if you have lots of aches and pains, right? If you are getting that winter depression, or you just feel like not getting out of the bed in the winter time, you just want to be all curled up in your house, bone aches, joint pains, feeling tired, fatigued. And vitamin D also acts like a hormone nowadays. They're seeing anti-cancer effect of vitamin D. I did my own blood test a few days ago and I was low, and I have been taking vitamin D, right? But still, for some reason, I was low. So, most women that I know, most people are low in vitamin D. So, please start taking it. You can talk to your doctor. 1,000 international units, anybody can safely take. You can take up to 5,000. It's not going to create issues for you, but start taking it. Now, when it comes to hormonal health, the biggest indicator is your cycle, menstrual cycle. If you have irregular cycles, or if you're missing a cycle, or if there's too far or too short cycles, if you have any symptoms where you're retaining a lot of water, if you have breast tenderness, if you have any facial acne, especially in this part, like these are hormonal acne, or acne on your back, then we know that your hormones are out of balance, right? And this is about female hormones because we have lots of hormones in the body. Belly fat is another reason that no matter if you are trying everything, but your midsection is really heavy, that also is a part of hormonal imbalance. So those are some signs of hormonal imbalance. Uh, and correcting the digestion could be the first step, to your hormonal balance. Yeah. Any other questions?
I think we've covered the ones in the chat.
Yeah.
So moving forward, like if you can touch base a little bit upon all these different type of diets, especially
Yeah.
vegan food, keto.
Yeah, so first I'll just quickly talk about macronutrients. So macronutrients are nutrients we require in big quantities. An example is carbohydrate, protein or fat. And throughout the ages, there have been uh, we've talked about carbs being really evil and how they're really bad for you, or fat being evil and bad for you, or protein being really good and you should have tons of protein. So again, these are all myths. Everything has to be customized for you, right? And carbs are required again for hormonal balancing. Carbs are also required for your mood, emotional stability. Protein is required for muscles. As women, we need muscles too. We need muscles for our immune health. If you start losing weight rapidly because of some crazy diet and lose a lot of muscle mass, you start getting sicker. You'll catch every cold and flu out there because your immune health also takes a toss, right? So when you fall sick, your body is going to rely on the amino acids which come from your muscles, right? So that is why it's important. And protein in good quantities is extremely important on a regular basis. The one thing I tell people is have some protein with each meal. Some protein could be eggs, chicken, fish, or beans, lentils, quinoa, whatever you prefer. It can be vegan, vegetarian protein as well. And then fat is also necessary for brain function. When we started with the fats are bad, fats are bad, if you look at the research in the past, for 3 4 decades, we see that dementia and Alzheimer's rates are really rapidly increasing, and that is all contributed because of the low fat diet, right? So desi ghee, 1 to 2 teaspoons, easily everybody can have that. And that will also help you with this vitamin D, storing it in the body and helping you feel grounded, right? And desi ghee is made from cow. It's going to be easier to digest as well. Now, coming to the diets, I'll just explain quickly what it is. So vegan diet is a diet where nobody eats any animal products, right? You're only going to eat plant-based foods, and you can have a healthy vegan diet, but you're going to be deficient in certain things on a vegan diet. Like vitamin D can be really low. Vitamin B12 can be really lowered in a vegan diet as well, and sometimes even iron. So you will have to supplement it, right? We talk about paleo, where you try to mimic what your ancestors ate, right? So you're eating lots of meat and you're avoiding grains and you're eating roots and tubers, but you're avoiding lentils and legumes. And again, basically what I believe is we don't eat heavier cuts of meat. So paleo diet for the Indian kind of lifestyle, it doesn't really work because we can't digest that meat. Our genetic makeup is very different than the Canadian genetic makeup, where they can have beef and lots of meat. We can't eat that quantity, right? So it might not work for you. And keto diet is one of the most popular diet. So when we talk about keto diet, everybody is trying to go keto to lose weight nowadays. And keto diet was developed as a therapeutic diet for children having epilepsy. So with neurological issues, it worked really well. But then they saw that, okay, the weight loss was one part of it because you're really lowering the carbs and your body starts burning those fats as ketones, right? What I have seen with keto diet is people end up losing a lot of muscle mass. So it is not a healthy diet for most people. And it is going to create a lot of nutritional deficiencies as well, because you're very restricted in terms of fruits and vegetables. You could lack in minerals, you could also lack in a lot of vitamins. So that is one thing. So don't go for any of these dietary fads. If you have an Ayurvedic diet, which is something that's really aligned to your body type, it's also something that you require according to the levels of exercise that you do or your lifestyle, that is going to be extremely important. Yeah, any other questions?
Yeah, we have one which is can talk about some tips or foods that can help with the pain or mood during the menstrual cycle.
So the one thing with um, is cutting out a lot of junk food is the first step I would give you. Right, when it comes to menstrual cycle or menstrual pain, always having something. If you're going very rich on pizzas or pastas or a lot of refined carbs, that can bloat you, that can make you feel heavy, and that can also interfere with your cycle. So I would cut a lot of junk food out. One simple thing that helps detoxify hormones is generally broccoli is really good, right? Broccoli has something called indole 3 carbinol. So if you have excess estrogen buildup in the body, which your body is not detoxifying, having a cup of cooked broccoli, again, I'm saying cooked, not raw, is extremely important. You know, that can help detoxify the hormones, and you will notice a lot of difference. The other tip that I can give, which is about general diet and it works really well, is stop snacking between meals. You know, I have so many, like, there are so many myths I can kind of keep busting. Some people eat 6 times a day. You know, you're not digesting food that well. You don't need to eat 6 times a day. You know, you can have 3 meals, make lunch the largest meal, right? Rather than having a heavy breakfast, the lunch should be the biggest meal, not dinner, not breakfast. And that helps your body get back into balance, and that will also help your cycle. The other thing that really works with cycle, especially, you know, is having some leafy greens as well, which can detoxify, and that also has magnesium. So cooked leafy greens always, you know, don't go for too many raw foods. Right now is not the season, and they can be harder to digest. So cooked foods, broccoli can be fantastic. And a heads up is people who have issues with thyroid, you know, just kind of beware, because raw broccoli, raw cauliflower, cabbage, you know, anything raw is going to interfere with that. And the second thing I tell women having menstrual issues is tofu, tempeh, like any soy products, cut it out. You know, that's really going to be beneficial to, if you're a vegetarian, you know, beans, lentils, 100%, but don't go for too much soy. It's harder to digest, and that might even create issues with your cycle. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Um, Manjari, can you touch base upon certain things, based on your experience, and like certain things that are already incorporated in our diets as an Indian diet, the Ayurvedic things? Is
Yeah.
there anything in particular that you think is okay for anybody to take? Like,
Yeah, I can give you a very, yeah,
sorry,
general,
like we hear about, take this aloe vera juice or giloy and all these things, and it's becoming really popular in India right now. Everybody's drinking those type of things to increase their immunity. Even ginger teas I'm hearing that a lot. So some insights on that.
yeah. So one thing mainly to understand is, you know, when you go for Giloy, it's good, but again, the dosage should be recommended by your Ayurvedic doctor, right? Aloe vera, again, it's really good, but see, certain times, you know, herbs can also interact if you're on prescription medications.
Mm-hmm.
And herbs also have to be in the appropriate dosages. So I really believe that over the counter, you know, ashwagandha is a milder one. Definitely, you know, that's easier to use. You can use that. But even with shatavari and certain very common herbs that we use in Ayurveda, and everybody recommends to everybody, right? But if you have fibroids and you're taking shatavari, it's going to increase the fibroids because it has a proliferative effect. So herbs, always please work with someone, whether you're taking Western herbs or Ayurvedic herbs. Diet wise, one of the fantastic things that you can do is, you know, slowly start cutting the whole wheat out
Mm-hmm.
and try adding other forms of, you know, you can have millet cup, you know, bhakris made up of jawar, bajri, especially right now, it's going to really help you.
Mm-hmm.
Another fantastic thing is ragi, you know,
Right.
we
Right.
marathi, or it's ragi, it's like a reddish colored, you know, um,
Very popular baby food here, though.
baby food, and it's also amazing for women because it has good amounts of iron, and women usually lack that iron.
Yeah.
So you can, you know, take this ragi flour, add hot water to it, let it mix and sit for some time, and make rotis out of it. And that is going to be low in glycemic index, balance your blood sugar, but also give you good nutrients, you know. The same with dals, like eat a variety always, you know, rather than having tuar dal, maybe mix the 5 dals someday, or mung dal, and, you know, try to eat different variety of vegetables. You know, we talk about eating the rainbow, so don't eat the same standard food all the time. You know, you can get lots of good nutrients from food itself, but keep switching your diet. Always eat different vegetables. Don't eat potatoes all the time, or one vegetable all the time. I can see there are a few questions, so I'm going to talk about quickly. Fatty liver, again, there are Ayurvedic treatments for fatty liver and other conditions, but it has to be customized to you, right? So definitely Ayurveda can help with fatty liver, but you have to look at the cause of fatty liver. Now, one thing that women don't realize is, what you put in your body, whether it's on your skin,
Mm-hmm.
it can be absorbed and everything can go to the liver, right? So is the fatty liver caused because you're taking a lot of prescription medications, or is the fatty liver caused because sometimes, people drink alcohol and that can damage the liver as well? Or is it caused because your diet is high in some kind of toxins which you have no idea about? So always finding the root cause is important. Ayurvedic treatment again would depend on the root cause, but there are herbs that you can definitely use for fatty liver. Suggest good cholesterol food. So one thing that has been proven to help with cholesterol is something called fiber, right? So if you have good amounts of fiber in your diet, that can bind the cholesterol and take it away. So even something like flaxseed.
Mm-hmm.
So flaxseed has good amounts of fiber. It also has omega-3, and it has plant um, fats or phytosterols that could help lower your cholesterol. Again, it depends on your numbers, but having flaxseed is good. It's warming. So be a bit careful when we go into the summer months.
Mm-hmm.
Add lots of leafy greens cooked to your diet, at least a cup a day, cooked greens, and that will help lower the cholesterol as well. Now, the question is how many cups of tea or coffee is okay daily, and also healthy sweetener? Okay, now this is a really, really good question. Coffee and tea is going to depend on different people, right? So we talked about body types, we talked about vata, we talked about pitta, we talked about kapha. Now, kapha people are people who are easygoing and they can actually handle coffee really well. If you look at vata personalities whose mind is really active, you might get anxiety with the caffeine in the tea as well, or the coffee. So I would say maximum 1 cup if you're having it, but don't go overboard because it's a stimulant
Mm-hmm.
and it's also an astringent, and it's going to interfere with the absorption of minerals and vitamins. Right? So coffee is going to constrict everything. So tea, coffee, they're both astringent. Do not go for more than a cup a day.
Wow.
Second part is fantastic. We talk about Splenda, we talk about coconut sugar, jaggery.
Yes.
So again, sweeteners can be divided into two groups. The non-calorie sweeteners could be Splenda, stevia, xylitol, different kinds of sugar alcohols, erythritol. This calorie-wise are going to be coconut sugar, jaggery, brown sugar, turbinado sugar, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would absolutely avoid refined sugars like white sugar, just avoid it. Jaggery, coconut sugar, you can use it, but depending that you don't have high blood sugar or a history of high blood sugar, right? And even with stevia, see, if you add stevia to everything, you're not going to go over the cravings. You're always going to crave that sweetness.
Mm-hmm.
And what sometimes happens is, I'm eating something which I've made really sweet using stevia. So my body thinks it's getting calories, which is it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Craving is going to be there, and sometimes you feel more hungry because you thought you got calories but you didn't get anything.
Right.
Yeah, so but in the regular diet, for example, right now in this season, you can have some dates, you can have some apricots, have it in moderation, maybe 1 or 2 dates,
Mm-hmm.
one, fig, apricots. Figs are really good for women as well. You can soak them, you
Mm-hmm.
can blend them, have it into warm milk, and that's like a nice tonic for balancing your body if you're feeling very agitated. um, but again, this would depend on people. So if you have blood sugar issues, history of diabetes, or your blood sugar has been a bit high, which your doctor has told you that okay, HbA1c is high, watch out for blood sugar, do not go for any jaggery or coconut sugar.
Mm-hmm.
Stevia in small amounts is fine, but otherwise, stevia is one of the safest ones.
Right. Manjari, on that, I wanted to ask, like, where can we get some of these good quality products, like, even for like coconut sugar or any Ayurvedic sweetener, the natural sweeteners? Do you know, or can you recommend a place here in maybe in Ontario?
A lot of things, products are by like Health Onwards is one
Mhm.
company. And
Onward.
I think Brinda's with us here. Yeah. So she does have quite a few, even
Mhm.
Ayurvedic things. She has vitamins, she has vitamin D and all that.
Oh, okay.
Coconut sugar, you can get it at any grocery store, like or natural health food store.
Mhm.
But anything else natural, like I really like supporting, women from our group. So vitamin D, 100%, she has it. She has the vegan one. She has B12. So
Okay.
check that out as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Um, and Manjri, one more question I have, and then we'll just open it up for anybody to just unmute and ask as well. That right, these days we also hear a lot of people claim to be health and wellness coach, or um, just health coaches, or not just a person who's your gym instructor, but really your entire health coach, sort of a thing. And what can you explain, like, a difference between an expert, or you're an Ayurvedic doctor, and you're also like holistic nutritionist, right? And then there are these health coaches. How do we know that what is, first of all, what is the difference, and secondly, like, how do we know if it's okay to approach either one of them, sort of thing?
See, again, health coaches are not, regulated. So we talk about regulated. Even Ayurveda in Canada is not regulated, but in India, we have to go through extensive education, 5.5 years of university for a bachelor of Ayurvedic medicine and surgery. So I can do deliveries. I've done all that in India. I can't do that here. And I have also done my MD, which was 3 more years. So it's extensive training in your anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, pharmacology, gynecology, like everything we've been taught in the 5.5 year course, right? So we have an in-depth understanding of your body and also the pathological aspect of the body, what can go wrong, how
Mhm.
normal is and how abnormal is. When we look at health coaches, they might not have the training, if somebody has undergone like Ayurvedic or homeopathic, and then they become a health coach, it's a very different scenario. But even with the nutrition school, they would just taught a little bit about anatomy, physiology, and nutritional pathology a little bit, but there's not in-depth training. So if you have existing issues, always work with someone who knows what's going on.
Mhm.
Another example I'll give you is, there are some health coaches behind some companies, and I don't want to name or shame anyone because we all believe really in what we do and it has helped us, and that's why we want to help others, right? But I also had an incident where there was a lady in my town and she was taking some protein shakes from some company and it damaged her kidneys,
Oh.
right? So she was taking those protein shakes for a few years and suddenly, she was having issues with kidneys, but the health coach had no idea that, or to look for signs of what could go wrong, or when the kidney issues were starting she couldn't check the pulse or she couldn't look at the tongue or understand what was happening. So this can also sometimes be harmful, right? So if you have a history of health issues, if you have something serious or hormonal issues, always work with someone who knows what's happening.
Mhm.
uh, I have a question I'm just looking here is
My
uh,
daughter, I think, yeah, I think it's Gunjan. Her daughter is 12, and at this age, when they're growing up, what would you recommend a must-have food to help them?
again, like not
Hi, Radhika. Thank you for taking my question.
Hey, Gunjan.
yeah. So again, Gunjan, as I said, you have to look at a well-rounded diet, right? If she's playing sport, if she's really active, her needs are going to be different. If she's sedentary, her needs are going to be slightly different, right?
Mhm.
So it has to be a well-rounded diet, There is not one food which is really going to help them, but the food, like try to add a variety of vegetables, The one thing is if your kids are young, please
Mhm.
build healthy habits for them, because if they have a good foundation, they go to the university and they eat clean. If they start with junk food or Maggie all the time, that's what they will rely on in the university. And I have eaten a lot of Maggie in my university because I didn't have time, but that wasn't really the healthier option. And, which I now realize, right? So,
Mm.
yeah, so give them a good foundation. Um, Teach them basics of cooking, expose them to different vegetables, different fruits. So they're going to get lots of nutrients and help them understand the difference between nutrients and calories, right? Really understand, help them understand that, okay, this is red and this is what it's helping you with, or this leafy green is giving you magnesium and that's what it's helping you with. And that's really going to work well. I have also, I think we've missed one question. So somebody had written that should you give organic stuff to kids like organic milk, eggs, chicken, etc.? Is it better than normal? Again, fantastic question, right? Now,
Thank you very
organic, yeah, sorry, somebody saying anything?
I think we're good. I think we're good.
So in the Ayurvedic days, everything was organic, right? And organic is honestly the way to go, right? There is a list of foods called the dirty dozen. So, environmental wellness group always has lists of certain foods that you should be eating organic all the time, like apples, strawberries should always be had organic, avocados doesn't matter. They keep changing the foods a little bit every year. And some foods, at least, which are more prone to having pesticides, like peanuts, have those organic. Ideally, if you can have everything organic, that is the way to go. When it comes to milk, organic whole milk is the best option, because you're not segregating the fat and then adding 2% and 3%, right? And organic means no hormones are added. This is again especially important for women with hormonal issues. You don't want excess hormones coming into your body, right? Whether it's through chicken, so you can get the hormone free chickens, you can get hormone free muttons, but make sure it is hormone free. And when it comes to fish, always buy the wild caught ones. You can get it at Costco.
Mhm.
So it's not farmed, but it's wild caught. That's going to be a better option. But eggs, I always get them free run organic ones, Local poultries would always have free run ones where the chickens are, running around nicely and they're being fed a good diet. They're not fed a lot of junk or pumped to, look bigger in size. So organic 100%. And see, it is expensive, but you are investing in health, right? So you are investing in health is the one main thing.
I think we've covered all questions in the chat. I just want to ask anybody on the call if you want to just unmute and ask any other question.
Yeah, I have shared a few things. So if you go to my Facebook page, I have lots of free videos, right? So on my YouTube page, on my Facebook page, if you look at the videos, there is lots of free information. My website, and then if you want, you can book a 15-minute consult as well.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Anybody has any question? No? Okay. So I think it's been a wonderful session, Manjari. It's just I think we have certain preconceived notions in our mind, maybe subconsciously from our culture, from India, from our family, and from our habits, and stress adds on to it. We just divert ourselves just to deal with that situation in that moment, like you talked about tea or something sweet, even Maggie for that matter, right? But I think understanding the whole concept of healthy eating and our body environment, you touch base upon the seasons, you touch base upon getting up in the morning, calm down for 5 minutes, let your body relax, and then go about and do your business. I think those are some great reminders, and giving some of the insights into, you talked about vata, pitta, kapha. I think, like for me also, I know at very high level that yes, these are our body types, but never really go into it unless someone in your family talks about it, right? So I think that leads on to something you just recently mentioned, that talk to your kids about that you're eating green leafy vegetable, this is what it's going to give you. So inculcating those habits and also awareness, so for our own self as well as for our family and our kids. So I think it's great, and thank you so much for sharing all these great insights. It's been amazing to have you.
Welcome. Thank you. And for those asking me about hormones and diet, I have lots of free videos. If you go onto my page and just check out, I have talked about each dosha differently, the diet for each dosha differently, and it's all free, like go check it out, and that will help you even more.
Yeah, and actually, Manjiri is on our Indian Women's Circle Business Directory website as well. So you can actually just go onto IWC website and look for her, and from there you can also go to her Facebook page or to her website. So so that you don't have to like look for her; she's right there as well. So again, thank you so much. Thank you everybody who joined us as well, and Manjiri, thank you again.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
I am going to, 1 second.